Hey everyone, head over to patreon.com/heyrob. That's patreon.com/heyrob and sign up so you can take part in my weekly Facebook Live Q&A sessions where I answer your questions about anything from Escape the Fate stuff to advice for being an artist or just things you are always curious about. I will also be doing fan follow-up streams to hear your thoughts about the albums we discuss in the podcast episodes. On the Patreon page, you can also get signed drumsticks, follow backs on social media, and even enter to win grand prizes that I give away every single month. So check it all out at patreon.com/heyrob. Where is the fucking album information? Let's have that
Come
ready.
on, man. You're supposed to know that off the top of your head. What kind of Green Day fan are you?
One who takes notes. Piece of shit. So, what's up, everybody? Today, episode 1, we decided to come in strong and have something that I'm very passionate about, which we will be doing almost every time we do this. We're going to have an album that at least one of us is passionate about, but this one was controversial. We had many debates on text message whether this is a great album, whether some of the songs are great or not, and our opinions were very different. So we're going to settle why that is. And we're talking, of course, about American Idiot by none other than Hall of Fame inductees Green Day.
They are?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I had no idea, actually. I seriously was about to slap you. I was like,
You know
no,
what?
they're not.
I
Dude.
better double check.
You cannot lie about facts like that.
They say no, they are Green Day Hall of Fame. Right from the get go. Let's check real quick.
You cannot.
Green Day Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Yeah, look, they are getting inducted.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, fuck you.
That's
I know.
fucking crazy, dude.
I know
actually.
rock and roll, bitch.
I'm not mad about that, actually. That's pretty cool.
So we were talking about American Idiot, of course. So following the massive success of Dookie from 1994, Green Day started to kind of slowly decline over time with each album, and it kind of bottomed out with Warning.
Mm-hmm.
So after that kind of commercial sort of disappointment, they went back into the studio.
You know what happened actually right after that? What I just learned today is that the label tried to get Billy Joe to go solo.
Really?
Yeah, they figured, well, if we don't have the sales, it would be easier to just pay one guy instead of 3 guys or something like that. That's what I heard today. That's pretty interesting.
I've never heard anything about that,
I'm
but
gonna have to. That's just what I heard. I gotta do
that
some
that
real
doesn't
research.
that doesn't make sense to me. I want to research that. So if there's a fan watching, they could maybe check that out too and put it in the comments. But I that doesn't sound right to me because the label doesn't lose money per member. They lose it to one entity, and that entity is Green Day.
And then
each individual member would split however they choose.
They decide who gets what
for sure. And so anyways, what happened though, there is something interesting that what happened that went into the recording of the album that followed up Warning was the master tapes for that album got stolen.
Right. The album was going to be called Cigarettes and Valentine.
Something like that. Like that.
Yeah.
And
which I'm glad, because I heard that the album was going to be a bunch of polka, Latin fusion, weird shit. So,
really?
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I like music, but dude, come on. Like that. What's that one song you submitted to the bracket that we were doing about Green Day?
King for a Day.
Was it King for a Day?
Probably.
That was hard to get through.
Oh, dude, live is why I love that song. I'm
sure live it's dope because things don't translate on record.
And if you listen to that one, and that goes into shout. They go into the you make me want to shout. They do that live. And it's so sick when you got like 60,000 people all, singing along and stuff.
Okay, I was going to say, because right now it sounds atrocious. I'd be so mad if I was listening to a record and then they go to, you make me want to shout.
Just randomly. No, but I mean, live it works. And that I never was into that song until I watched them on the Bullet in the Bible. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So the master tapes were stolen. And so they decided rather than, try to re-record all these songs, they just started fresh and they began jamming. And what happened was they developed this sort of yeah, I mean, a jam. So they'd go from just playing this song for like 30 seconds to a minute, then into the next song, then to the
Yeah,
next song.
I heard everybody was writing their own, and it
Um,
became like a one-upmanship. You know, everybody was trying to, oh damn, he wrote something hella good. Let me write this, and they kept doing that over and over again.
yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about that. Maybe bring the mic a little bit
A
closer
little
though, just a
farther.
little bit,
All right.
just to make sure it's going good. But yeah, I don't know a whole lot about that stuff. But what I do know is that when American Idiot came out, it was released on September 21st, 2004. It was produced by Rob Cavallo, who actually he produced the Black Parade as well by My Chemical Romance, one that we'll do at
That
some
makes
point in
sense.
time. Um,
One that I
it went to number one in 19 countries, including the U.S., and it sold 16 million copies worldwide, dude. Like that
definitely
doesn't happen
and
anymore.
the end of an era for sure.
Yeah, this is probably the last of that sort of cultural phenomenon that takes on like millions upon millions of actual sales, you know?
For rock music, at least.
Definitely rock music,
Yeah.
definitely rock music. And there were 5 singles, which were American Idiot, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, Holiday, or is it On Holiday or just Holiday?
Holiday. Yeah.
And then Wake Me Up When September Ends, and Jesus of Suburbia. It won a Grammy for Best Rock Album, and it also spawned a Broadway musical. So
Mm,
those are the facts that you need to know about American Idiot. So
they are facts.
I guess I'll go first and then kind of give it to you because you're a piece of shit.
Pause.
Um, so I chose this album because to me it's one of my favorite ever, and that's what we want to do on this podcast. We want to talk about some of our favorite albums. Some might be brand new, some might be super old, and I mean, at some point I want to talk about the Beatles. I want to talk about the favorite albums from the scene, some from whatever. And he could introduce me to new albums. There's some albums that he's never listened to that I love. There's albums I've never listened to that he loves, or at some point we'll bring in other friends as well to talk about different albums. But this one is one of my favorites, and I remember it. So we're to talk about what the era was like when American Idiot came out. What was happening back then? We had just gone into uh, Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well, yeah, the post 9/11 terrorism hysteria was like super high during that time. It was people were still scared, people were still paranoid, people were still freaking out. Um, yeah, and what was it? 2 years, 3 years
Yeah,
after
so it came
that.
out in 2004.
So yeah, 3 years.
And
Pretty much
9/11, so I mean the world was a really weird place at that
super
time,
weird.
obviously in America it was. And this album to me, I remember hearing it in the car with Saskia actually. Like
Name drops.
name drops. uh she's an old friend from high school, kind of sort of dated a little bit, I don't know, maybe, I don't
Do
know,
you want to put
did
that
we?
out there? Really, I don't know.
I don't know. But anyways, I got her that album for her birthday, and it was the day it came out. I wasn't a big Green Day fan. I was like, yeah, a couple of singles. I liked when I come around, and we drove around and we listened to that album, and right from the get go, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. I remember hearing American Idiot the song, and MTV had the making of the video, and then at the end you see the video, and it was not really a whole lot going on, but it was just super funny, and the American flag was green and just dripping down at the end, and Trey Cool running around his drum kit in slow motion. It was hilarious. So then the album came out, and I remember hearing Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and I said, this band is about to they're about to take shit over. This is gonna be humongous. I remember hearing that song and thinking this is gonna be a huge song. It wasn't a single yet, but the whole album just really stood out to me, and I loved it. But it wasn't for like another 2 years when it really came to life. When this guy at work that my dad and I used to work with.
I was gonna say work.
Yeah, yeah, I actually
You
did
worked?
work. I did work, believe it or not. But we used to paint these apartments, and this dude was the biggest Green Day fan. He had all the imports. He used to fly to different shows and all that stuff. And dude, he would bump American Idiot every single day. And then I started listening to it, and I remember Jesus of Suburbia was the song that made me a fan of Green Day. I didn't like Green Day. That song made me a fucking fan because I realized that Green Day wasn't just this weird, annoying punk band who was just, fart jokes and stuff. Because I wasn't into pop punk. Yeah, I remember I was a metalhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the album was perceived as a political record, but I realized they weren't talking just politics and government. They were talking about what it was like to grow up being a suburban kid. And that was me, Maybe I started out in the ghetto, but mostly I spent my life, as this suburban kid, not really
Suburbs of
knowing
Las
what to do.
Vegas.
Yeah, or
In the
just kind of,
suburbs of Las Vegas. Yeah.
we weren't too bad off, but you kind of get lost. You don't really know what you're doing with your life and what's the point and where am I going to find happiness and all those kinds of things. And they were asking the same questions and they were trying to answer them. And that song, Jesus Suburbia, was answering some of those questions. You're looking at your parents, you're looking at the fact that they grew up with those same unanswerable questions and they're having addictions and filling the void with television and cigarettes and drugs and alcohol, and you end up going into the same cycle. And that song just so stood out to me. And at the time,
I thought that song was throwing suburbia back at their faces, at suburban people's faces. To me, when I listened to that song, because I didn't have that experience, obviously, but when I listen to that song, I always go like, "Yeah, dude, he's saying that living in suburbia. This is what I'm. What do you? How do I explain it? He's saying like a kid raised on soda pop and Ritalin and everything's fine, but for me, it's not fine. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know. It was, to me, it was an anti-suburban song. It was more like a, yo, this sucks. Like, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, no, I get what
Maybe
you're saying.
we're jumping ahead. We can break down each song one at a time when we get into the track listing. But
I guess I'm just to start. That's where that song stood out to me, and that's where in my life, that's when I became a fan, and I continue to be a fan now because I've learned more about what each song means, and as they go on. So, first impressions were, damn, this album's gonna be huge. Second impressions were, damn, this album is talking about the same shit I'm thinking. And then guitar solos, drum solos, but they weren't like the stereotypical
you were able to relate
shredding.
to the album. Yeah,
I related about everything.
Right,
so what was your first?
Complete opposite, 1000% opposite.
There we go.
Green Day was legit when we were growing up in the hood. I hate saying that shit, but we were growing up in the ghetto or whatever. We didn't really have internet, so all we really had was MTV. Huge MTV. So Green Day was like already done by the time we were old enough to discover music, So my first introduction to Green Day was the Behind the Music, and then we dove into Dookie, Kerplunk, and 39 Smooth is what I call it, with the two EPs, the joint album, and that was it. And then Nimrod, Insomniac, and Warning were cool if they take certain songs out of there and put it in one album, it would be a masterpiece. But you know what I mean? So, but Green Day was pretty much, to me, like I said, there was no internet back then, so I thought they were gone completely.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were a band anymore.
Because back then, to you, if they didn't have huge #1 radio singles, and if they weren't
on MTV,
on TRL,
they
didn't exist.
They didn't exist. Yeah, you don't have internet. You don't have social media. It did not exist. Internet was around, but it did not exist, especially for us living there. But then I'm sitting there watching TV, and then American Idiots starts. How's that song start? And I'm like, oh, that's kind of fast. And then I'm like, wow, these guys look familiar. And then I hear, oh, I don't want to be an American idiot. Sorry to ruin your listeners' ears. But I remember thinking, oh, no. Because Green Day has never been a political band. They've always been like a kind of a jokester band, right? I'm like, no, dude, I'm so over this 9/11 stuff. These guys are really, really selling out for real now. That's what I thought. That was my initial reaction. And then, that was it. I stopped. I bought the album. I stopped listening to it, but then I kept getting fed single after single after single, played everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing
it became a phenomenon. It was a full-on phenomenon.
I hated it. Fucking hated it. And still to this day, I hear the first notes of like, what's that song? Of Holiday. I hear the first notes, and my initial reaction is to change the radio or change the channel every single time. Every song. Same thing with American Idiot. I hear those first couple notes and I change it. So when we were doing that bracket, that was my reaction. Change it, change it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I never broke down the lyrics. I never sat down and actually listened. And I told you before, I bought the album when it came out, and how long has it been? 14 years.
Yeah,
and I've probably put it on 6 or 7 times in that amount of time, trying to get it, and I never got through the whole thing until today. This morning, I got through the whole thing. And you might be disappointed, but I kind of like it.
What? What?
I know you're expecting to fight.
Oh my God.
I kind of like it. But it's weird because I still have those. The first half of the album, I just want to skip through it completely. I'm sorry.
Oh, you already know most of the first.
Right, because it's fucking been blown in my face. Like, literally, it's shot in my face from some dude. It was not court, or what is the word I'm looking for? It was not asked for, man. I didn't want to get shot in the face.
No.
But no, for real, I didn't like it, and it's still that initial reaction is to change the track. Change the track was still there, so I had to fight that urge. But once I actually sat down and listened, I like it. I don't like American. I still don't like the first track, American Idiot. I still don't like it. It's fast. Lyrically, I hate it completely because I don't know, dude. Fat Mike. Jesus Christ. Fat Mike did it better is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, here we go. And you know what? I'm not entirely going to argue with the idea that Fat Mike did it better. And when you were talking about Fat Mike, No Effects, you mentioned that when we were doing our Green Day bracket, and that is that Jesus Suburbia is like this compilation song. And Homecoming's 100%. The same thing.
Homecoming is Jesus of Suburbia, at least it's kind of subtle where they're changing, because it's like completely different songs. Mm-hmm. They're just new parts together. And then when I found out about how they were writing 30-second songs, that solidified that's what they did. They just threw their favorite parts in one song. Mm-hmm. Homecoming is not done nicely. It's like let's just do this. The only thing that ties Homecoming together is just that the lyrics are the same. Like, the lyrics has the same theme throughout.
But Trey Cool singing and saxophones.
Oh, does he really sing on that?
Yeah. Got a rock and roll band.
That's him? Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. Oh, shit.
Play the shit out of drums.
I did write down. I was like, find out who the guest vocals are.
Really?
I didn't know it was Trey Cool. We'll see. Eric Melvin does it better.
Oh, Eric Melvin doesn't even sing. All he does is go, ah.
No, but he has a couple tracks now, new ones, where he's singing on albums. But whatever.
I find... This is why I think that you're let me try to be smart here. This is why
it's kind of hard to.
You're mentally inept. You have a severe mental ineptitude that does not allow you to. No, I take that back. Let me start over. You're too smart. You're too smart, and you have too much heart. So you can't actually just say, you know what? I'm gonna block out that I've heard the decline.
Not even that, dude. I saw that and I didn't think it was genuine. I thought it was just a complete. I mean, now that I know the story about the whole master tapes, and then they wrote that in 3 months or something, before they put it out, that's actually pretty cool. I thought it was like, you know what? That's actually is a genuine way to come up with what you just came out with in less than 3 months, because that's pretty rad. But at the beginning, when I first saw it initially, thought it was absolute cash grab, cash in 9/11 bullcrap.
A 9-minute song is not a cash grab.
I
2 9-minute songs is not a cash grab. I understand though. So like I said,
okay. So they made a video for Jesus Suburbia. How long is that one?
That one's 9 minutes long.
No, it's not, dude. It's like completely condensed.
Shut up.
Look it up. It's completely condensed.
I haven't seen any of the videos in a long time.
Doing this, I thought about actually, and that's another thing I didn't like, dude. The imagery was absolutely atrocious to me. A grenade-shaped bomb, the fucking weird artwork, them wearing eyeliner. It was during the time when the scene bands, the guyliner was a thing. Oh, I hated
short version. No, there's 2 versions. There is a full
there is a
version,
full one.
Because the idea was actually that they were gonna make a movie out of American Idiot. They they did the Broadway, but they're gonna make a movie.
Okay, so what's the difference between Green Day trying to be ambitious and doing a movie and a Broadway thing, but Tom DeLonge with Angels and Airwaves and everybody shits on him? for trying to be too ambitious with his shit.
Listen, I got the first Angels and Airways.
I liked
The
it.
the thing is exactly.
Yeah, the songs weren't there. There was 4 or 5 good songs.
And I love them and I support them and I've gotten every album since. But you know, and the newest one was actually really cool
I haven't
too.
heard it. No.
But or maybe it was a Tom DeLonge, just Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, he did. He did
There was
like
one
B-sides
recently.
and like rough takes or something
It
under
was pretty
his name.
sick.
Under his name.
But American Idiot, like for all its ambitious nature, like to me, I liked being in that whole realm and the imagery at first. Again, I'm a metalhead, so I agree with you. I didn't love it at first, and it was still the song American Idiot. It was like that, you know, just second grader giving you wedgies. Like I just hated it. I hated it.
And the lyrics weren't even that. I mean, now I deep dove, and actually, to me, the lyrics are anti or basically calling out, you know, conspiracy theories where with their over the top paranoia bullshit. That's what the lyrics to me when I actually sat there and listened to it. But back then, it just sounded like some grown ass men trying to be punk rock, trying to be anti-establishment. Literally in the song, it says "fuck America" like one in the first verse, right? I didn't deep dive in to find out what they actually meant, but I thought when I first heard it, it was like, wow, these guys are really trying to be punk rock now, saying "fuck America" in the middle or in the, you know, the first verse of a song. You don't remember that?
Not really, because it's hard to differentiate it now. Because to me now, it's like I hear it more of for what it is like, um, just saying, look, I'm not gonna be the dumb American who lives in suburbia and listens to or watches the same laugh track sitcoms, which I love. But I'm not gonna be that guy.
That's
I'm not just gonna take ADD medication.
And that's what I mean.
I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna be
suburbia
stupid.
Life back at people who live in suburbia. That's what I meant.
Exactly, and that's American Idiot is more of that.
Yeah, you think so?
And because it's like you get, like he's trying to say like the war. He didn't believe the war. You know, what I mean? He didn't believe all the shit that they're saying
on the news,
but
and all
he
that.
didn't want to just be a dumb conspiracy theorist either. He wanted to know why are we making these decisions, and I'm not just gonna numb myself. I want to make a change, and that's what American Idiot sounded to me. So as stupid as it sounded to me back then,
it sounded stupid.
It sounds so.
So we're in agreement that when it first came out, we were both kind of like
that specific song. I didn't hate it. It was still fun, but I definitely didn't like it.
Oh, I hated it.
But then, as I grew to understand it, now that like first, like when I hear it, don't want to be an American Idiot. That just sets up the whole album. That sets it's the most simple, straight to the point. I don't want to be an American Idiot.
Right.
That's it.
Right. I mean, when that song is not really it's like a perfect intro song for sure, because it sets up. It's like the, what do you call that in a book? The preface or whatever that you call it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. It sets that up, and then it goes into the story. First of all, I hate concept albums too, so that's another thing.
Shit.
Concept albums. I'd rather watch a movie.
Go ahead.
So it's a perfect way to set up the album and then go into the movie. But yeah, I hated that song when it came out.
Yeah, but I think as I've gone on now, what I appreciate to kind of change gears from the what do you call that from like the lyrics and the idea of everything about, you know, it's a concept in terms of it's grandiose and it's lyrical, it's theme and all that stuff, right? But actual sonics of it now, we argue about this every single day with Jordan, with you and I, even with Ian. We argue about
even with Ian. He likes music, I guess,
because he likes riffs, and so if he hears a sweet riff, he's into it, right? But Jordan is one who he'll just hear a bunch of notes thrown together, and it's cool.
He thinks it's amazing.
And you can listen to someone who's like a completely out of tune guitar recorded on a single track tape.
Absolutely,
and
dude.
You love it.
I'd rather listen to kids in a garage jamming out good songs, especially if the songs are good. Like if a kid group in a garage and there's one of them who's a good songwriter, but their equipment is garbage, I'd rather listen to that than any fucking gent fucking technical metal Jordan likes.
Yeah, the
Any day.
freaking math metal 100%
nerd. Any day. Any day.
I mean, look, some of that stuff's cool, and some of the stuff still as a musician, I go, wow, that's cool. That's cool because because there is a craft to it, and I can appreciate it.
It turns it into sport, and I don't like that.
Right. So now what I'm getting at is when I hear American Idiot, I hear, and I said this earlier today, when you get just enough craft because you need to get something out of your system. And this song or these songs all they're done so well, but they're not full of themselves in terms of the musicianship. It's still Green Day playing
one thing that
the chords and those rhythms and that bass that's just so in your face.
That's one thing I will say this morning. The best time for me, the best way for me to listen to music is when I'm kind of tired. I don't know why, but every time I'm tired, I just hear every note coming in. So this morning when I went to work, I purposely did a long drive as my first stop. You know what I do, just so I can listen to it. And I was hearing every note, and I just remember thinking, well, it was this morning, but I just remember going, "Fuck, dude, this drummer is perfect.
It's perfect.
Not flashy. He didn't do anything to fucking show off. All he did was add to the song, make the song good. So good. And it was so simple. His drums are so simple. I haven't played drums in years, and I could probably cover it because it was so perfect. The sounds, the sound of the drums were great. Loved it. The sounds of everything in the production on the album was great. I loved it all.
And
except for the stupid microphone shit. What do you call that?
When it goes in that kind of stuff.
The president is here to speak to you.
I love it though.
The president has to tell you
but
stuff.
Sometimes it's cool to get theatrical with it, man. Sometimes
I get it
because
man,
like when I think of like Eminem,
it throws me out of it, dude. Eminem especially is guilty of that shit.
Well, he does it to a T, but sometimes I like it because it does paint a picture and it puts you into this world. But it doesn't.
It does the opposite. It throws me out.
Oh,
literally like out the window.
Because literally, but because you can't get I don't know, man. Dude, just let it be. Just go into that world. Just be part of it.
I get it. It's hard for me to actually just shut my brain down, ignore what I've heard in the past. That's why I brought The Decline with Jesus Suburbia. I'm like, I'm not impressed by a 9-minute song because The Decline did it better.
It 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I'll listen to The Decline again. Actually, I wanted to on the way over here, just for context, for comparison. I feel like The Decline. The reason why I like The Decline better than Jesus Suburbia, and we're only basing it off of a long punk rock song, was because The Decline was consistent throughout the song. Jesus Suburbia to me just sounds a bunch of like clips. It sounds like what it reminded me of? A fucking Family Guy episode.
Yeah.
Where they were just throwing shit in there. And the only thing that kept it together was the fact that the song was called Jesus in Suburbia. That whole thing could have been split up and been different songs. And that's why I hated it.
But to me, the reason I'm okay with it is because sometimes obviously I talk about The Dark Knight a lot, and it's very fast. There's a lot of scenes. It's a lot to soak up right at first. But there's so much to say, and there's so many grounds to cover, and that song specifically is more about what happens at home. And there are so many little aspects. You can't do a full 3-minute verse chorus song of each one of those feelings and fit it onto an album.
That makes sense.
Because then now we're going to have a double album, and then you're going to complain about that.
Nobody likes double albums. They came out with that. They come out with that 3 garbage, atrocious bullshit that they came out with.
Oh,
Trey, Uno, Dos, and who knows. Garbage.
Oh,
Did you hear it? Tell me you listened to all of them. Did you listen to every single one of those?
I'll be honest. I haven't actually listened to them. I haven't listened to them.
Jump out the fucking house.
I can't have a say.
Go jump out the. Just go.
But look,
you got stairs right there. Just jump.
Just go. Literally jump out the window. But I think there's one thing that and when we're talking about the Sonics and stuff, one of my favorite podcasts called The Rewatchables, which is sort of inspiration and it's kind of homage to that with our favorite albums instead of movies. That's what they do. They have something on there that's called What's Aged the Best and What's Aged the Worst. So we were talking about Trey Cool as a drummer. We're talking about the sounds, the musicianship, or the lack of musicianship as well. to me, just the sound of the record, which we could talk about the sound. We've talked so much about what these songs are about. Is that now it's been 14 years since then, and over the last at least 5 years, it's like movies with CGI. I mean, does it do anything for you?
Have you seen the first X-Men, the one that came out? Remember that one?
Yeah, like back in the day.
No, you seen it today.
No.
Back in the day, it was damn. That's crazy. Yeah. Today, atrocious.
Yeah. So and like
comical, really.
And some movies still like stand the test of time, but like, and if you watch Star Wars, you're like, oh, this is you see the Barbie doll.
There's few things that me and Robert have in common, especially lately, because we argue and fight a lot. Here it is. Number one, why are we friends with Jordan?
It's got to have some heart, right?
Right. Number two, we agree that the GOAT is Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks is
the GOAT. Period.
Tom Hanks is the GOAT.
And number four is probably our hatred for Star Wars.
Really? I didn't know that.
I don't like Star Wars, dude. I've told you this before.
I forgot.
Dude, I've told you that if Star Wars came out today, nobody would care.
They wouldn't. And see, so that let's reel that back in then. When I watched it now, because obviously I've been exposed to all levels of CGI, and even the episode 1 Phantom Menace, that CGI, which was meant to be this new updated version, looked terrible, right? Mm-hmm. So at the time, though, it's awesome.
I get it, right? Exactly.
But now
I 100% understand why in the 70s Star Wars comes out and people fucking get blown away by it.
Exactly. It makes sense. So to me now, having all the computer CGI music, right? Where if there's a great drummer, I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. It's
man.
all samples.
And you've been in the studio, so I guess you know the tricks that people can do.
And so that's why, because I know how the sausage is made. It is very, very difficult to blow me away.
It's refreshing to hear Trey Cool, dude.
Yes, it's difficult to blow me away with musical, like with talents and ability and crazy, intricate whatevers and really fast stuff. That doesn't do it for me anymore. I need heart, dude.
Give me a 3-chord piece of shit.
And so that album,
any day,
it sounds great, but it's not overdone in production as far as it's ambitious in concept, but it's not ambitious in sonics and everything. It just sounds great, but you hear Trey Cool's style, and he's not over the top. He's not flashy, but yet he has his own sound.
Fucking like it stands out. But not to where you're like completely ignoring the song.
And Mike Dirnt sounds so good. His bass, everything is so refreshing. So to me, if I'm to ask, what's aged the best, it is the sound of the record.
Still holds up.
It sounds like a great record. It holds up because there are some old 80s metal albums that I used to think were great, and I listen to now, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty shitty. And you hear some of the mistakes they made, and sometimes even mixes. Like yesterday, we were listening to Van Halen, like the guitar solo coming in, I'm like, ow, my left ear hurts. Like it's on this side. And they didn't know how to pan stuff back then, and it was.
But that also adds an element of endearment to old music too.
Yeah, totally. It gives it character. I think that time, that 2004. Maybe around 2010 is when kind of rock really shifted.
It went,
and everything.
I'd say a little earlier. Yeah, 2009, 2010 for sure. When all those indie, like rock music was pretty much dead. What was popular was those indie bands and like Phoenix and Tokyo Police Club and those bands. Remember how they were like indie bands, like Death Cab for Cutie. I love Death Cab, but those kind of sounding bands were adding electronics to their music. Actually, I've even heard a song where it says the song was called "All Guitars Are Overrated."
Wow!
But that was rock music. If you were to find out, or wanted to know who were the top of the charts of that time, it was those indie bands. Vampire Weekend.
And there was also.
Did you ever?
No, I never
got into that.
I never messed with any of it.
Well, that was you were in your world.
I was full on Warped Tour emo.
Yeah, you were in your world back then. No, at the top of the charts. the mainstream shit that was on the radio, even what X1075 changed their format.
Yeah,
Remember?
they dropped the X.
Yeah, to just like
And
indie
then they
music.
started playing like
Yeah,
Flogging Molly, or not Flogging Molly.
no,
They started playing
Killers and shit like that.
Killers,
Right?
and what was the other band with the banjo? The band with the banjo. They're really good, actually.
Dropkick Murphys,
No, no, no.
Flogging Molly.
I totally was wrong with that, but they're. I will wait for you. You know what I'm talking about?
No, sounds horrible.
Oh, fucking
Sounds
damn
horrible,
it!
though.
They're actually sick. It took me a long time to get into.
But
them.
so yeah, you were in your own world, but on the top of the charts on the radio was all this weird indie.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't hate any of it, but yeah, it was so rock music, like the balls of rock music was pretty much dead right there.
Yeah, so hard rock, the idea of hard rock, and there's still some great bands that come out, but you know that it's different now, and everything. The drums usually are very fake sounding
Triggered,
to me.
whatever. What does that
super
mean?
sampled, like where it's layered, and when you hear a drum kit that isn't layered, it sounds so small to you. So because you're so used to these like basically hip hop drums on metal, or they're super lined up
That sucks.
and everything, and sometimes it's cool because it produces its own sound, and I like it. But for me,
You know what would be an
I'm-
interesting experiment, sorry to cut you off, would be to see if like Jordan or me even can tell the difference between layered drums, triggered drums, and just natural drums.
yeah,
That'd be a fun little thing. See how much
I can kind of tell now. I mean,
See, I don't know if I would. That's why when you said that, I was like, "Fuck, have I been brainwashed over the years? Can I tell the difference?"
But me and Thrasher actually do that quite a bit. We'll be listening, like, damn, dude, those drums are completely real, dude. Like, they still throw in samples like on snare hits that might not be perfect or whatever, but that usually dudes that play, you know, on the records are either gonna get completely edited. Or I mean, I'm guilty of that because I'm not a great studio guy. I'm always writing, trying to work with the music.
This is what I'm talking about. This
writing.
is why I get irritated with recorded shit.
Dude, it's hard.
Dude, I rather listen. That's why I like this band. It would be hilarious to hear your review on this band called The Chariot. No,
I remember The Chariot.
They recorded their first album. Yeah, you played shows with them. They recorded their first album. They literally just jammed, and that was their first album.
That sounds great.
Perfect. Fucking love it. Feedback and everything.
Damn. See, but then there's like we were listening to AC/DC. Holy shit, it sounds huge. But you hear and it's
Love
guitar
AC/DC.
left, guitar right, and it's awesome. So to me, like, I guess because like the rock music to me isn't defined by what rock music was defined by before. Loud drums with a lot of feeling and heart, and the drummer, you know, had his own character. Guitars that have a certain style and doesn't necessarily have to be shredding. I mean, Green Day's a perfect example. Yeah, Nirvana's a perfect example.
Absolutely.
Their own style and those, you know, vocals that have a certain angst to them and they have something to say that's not always just straight fun. Sometimes it is, you know, 80s hair metal, not my biggest thing. I love some of the songs. I love some of the songs, but it's not my favorite because it feels kind of plastic, you know.
Absolutely.
But so to me, this record has aged really well in that regard because I don't get a lot of, to me, what is purely a rock record. I don't get a lot of that anymore. And it was ambitious, but they still kept the elements the same to create this vision, you know. And,
I mean, the fact that I listen to it now, with everything I've heard, in our group chat, dude, we listen to music pretty much 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, it's our own time to listen to what we want to.
But so like, I'm listen, not just hearing shit, listening.
Right, and that's the hard part, and that's kind of I think we've done it so much to where we're starting to not even pay attention to each other's recommendations, which I think good thing would be doing this, what we're doing now, one album, tear that apart.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the fact that I listened to it today and I've hated it for years, and I actually got through it today and I like it, is a testament to why it still holds up.
It is. And to me, music, this is why I wanted to do it this way rather than, you know, what a typical journalist would do is you review what's current. What's the new release? Let's review it and let's see what it's about and then tell people about how we feel. But to me, now with the podcast format, it allows you to talk about what you want. And to me, I've always said this, music is timeless. It doesn't matter if it came out today, 100 years ago, whatever. It's if it sounds cool, it sounds cool, and some things don't, and sometimes for whatever reason you don't get it, and then life happens, and then you do get it.
Right.
And so to me, it was great to go back and revisit this one and really get into it and share that
I
with
really,
you. But
I really wish I could have done it the way I like to listen to music. I mean, I did it this morning, when I was tired. But my favorite way is to, like, you have your setup here and put the record on and have the lyric book and listen that way. No distractions all the way through. I had to pause it halfway because of work.
Yeah.
And then get back into it. If I would have listened to it all the way through, see how long. If I feel like it's a chore to get through it.
Yeah.
If I feel, unless it just swings by and I'm like, damn, it's over already, I got to put it on. Those kind of things is what we need to be able to tell if something is good or not. You know what I'm trying to say?
Totally. And there's been a lot of Jordan's music in particular
where it's a chore to get
I'm
through.
like, come on, man. Like,
but see that, and that's the thing though. Like, would it be that way if you were in the right mindset?
That's true.
Because doing this, having arguments about music, I've learned that I don't think there's such thing as bad music. I mean, there's bad technically recorded, bad technical players and stuff, but actual music that has been put on record, at least, I don't think there's such a thing as a bad record. I really think it's just all about context. It's all about your mindset and vibe.
This is why it is actually kind of disappointing that you've grown to like the album.
There's things that I hate for sure. Like Homecoming is
oh my god,
fucking
you're
terrible, dude.
Yeah.
That's legit. Like Jesus Suburbia is one thing where they pieced a bunch of random parts together. At least they kind of try to make it, theatrical or whatever. I can't even say that word. But Homecoming was just like, yo, we need one more song. All right, we got 15 parts left. Just throw them together. Hey, Trey, play some drums. Slap the bass.
You're an idiot.
That's what that song sounds like. They just threw shit together.
Like you're a fucking idiot because that song's dope. At the end, when he goes into that, I can't sing. But he goes into that high note. I'm like, yes, they're going home. It's over.
I feel like I need to listen to it again.
Journey. We went through war.
See, and that's the thing.
We went through everything, and then we're going home now, and then we end with what's her name because
that's why
you still have these unresolved feelings. So
I gotta listen to the album, and I gotta sit down and like really break down like the story. That's what I missed listening to it today. Is what was the story here?
Yeah, which let's get into, because we could go all freaking night and day about this, but let's get into the standout tracks. So my standout tracks for this, I actually go the opposite. It's the ones that aren't my favorites, which I think She's a Rebel I didn't really love, and I'm not really into it. Those three songs actually that are kind of back to back. I like Give Me Novocaine. My band covered it. We did cover that song, and I actually thought we did a pretty good job.
I got here and I stayed in the car just to finish that track.
Yeah,
I love that track.
That song's dope, because it's so weird and melodic. But She's a Rebel's not my favorite. The next ones after that are not my favorite. Letter Bomb and I can't remember the other one right now. But
how many good tracks does an album need to have to be a classic?
Dude,
4 at least.
You gotta have at least 4, but usually like 5. But it takes you on a journey. If there's anything I learned about talking about music with 4 people every day, where we listen to a song,
completely different taste in music.
It's so weird. Why does that sound good to you? It sounds bad to me, and it doesn't make fucking sense. But
fucking Peter Pan Butterfly Wings is the weirdest shit I ever heard of.
Literally, Ian listens to Speed Racer, whatever it's called, the Speedy the Racer. I can't remember.
I loved it. I actually liked it. I'm just
you're a troll. But to me, those songs stand out because I didn't really get into them. I wasn't super into them. They're still like not my favorites, but I can listen to them. I remember them front to back. I still like them. I still really enjoy them.
I know what you mean.
But they aren't my favorites. So my favorites though are, Jesus of Suburbia, which we've gone over, in the beginning at length. And I will say What's Her Name is probably my favorite.
You know what? Yeah, that's actually would be one of my top 3 of this album.
And for me, sure. that song is like,
it's actually a perfect way to end a track.
I agree, and
lyrically, it's perfect.
If I'm gonna say, like where there was a journey on the album where this awakening happens, like,
is that
wait, I'm not. Wait, what if everything I thought was real in my life is actually not real? What if this whole suburban life is just make believe? and they don't believe in me, and they
That's
just
what
want
I
to keep me
mean.
here.
That's
And then
exactly
you
what I
go
mean.
and you go and you venture off into all these different things, and you're out and you're dealing with politics, you're dealing with society, you're dealing with work, you're dealing with relationships, you're dealing with all this stuff, and then you come home, homecoming. You come home now, you're just like, you know what? I'm good. I know who I am
Was that a
now.
Closure
I know
song?
how to live. And then through all this mess, you still have this little itching thing in the back of your head of someone you met that you can't
Along the
forget,
way, yeah.
and you don't remember everything, but you have those moments together. And What's Her Name for me is a very personal song. Like, I relate to that on a personal level, and it's so vibey. And I that was my
It's
favorite
a
song
great
from
vibe.
the album before I even related to the album, that
Mm.
song. I was already my favorite
I
because I
feel like
love how it sounds. I love the concept, and then I became like I understood it
I think that
firsthand.
song. If you're in your 30s and you've lived a little bit, I think you if you don't relate to that song at that age, then you haven't lived. Because
Yeah,
that song truly is. I think everyone has gone through something like that. Whatever that what's her name touches on.
yeah. Were
Is it is
you?
it? Would you consider a song about closure, or just a song about reflection?
It's more about reflection in that way
Trying
because
to reflect on, remember, and
yeah,
wonder
it's
and
it's
wonder.
because there's always that wonder, dude. There's
Yeah,
always
always what
that,
if.
what no, what are they doing now? I wonder how they've been. I haven't forgot you. Like, do you still think about me?
Yeah.
And and it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic
No, I
relationship
don't.
that you have that with. It can be old friends, people you've had falling outs with, family members, even family members that have passed away, and you just start to think about the idea of an afterlife, whether it exists or not, and then you just remember those times, and they seem kind of fake, but there's this vivid memory, but it doesn't exist right now, so is it even real? And that's why it's like, what's her name? Because I can't, like, remember, I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
piece it
yeah.
together,
But it's
but I
still
know
there.
it
The memory
existed.
happen. It's still there.
and
Right,
and
right.
so that song is like, it kind of is a great way
That's
to end the
actually an
album.
awesome way of
It's
looking at it.
super vibey,
What's her name?
just great way to end the album. And every time it has, we
And then
just went through
that
this.
my dumbass puts on the deluxe edition. I'm like, man, this is a great way to end the album. They should end it here. And then some shit. I'm like, why would you do this to me?
They can't do
I'm
that
an idiot.
deluxe.
I had to go back and make sure that was actual end.
So
So
yeah.
all right, so your top 3 of the album
To,
standout tracks.
so for me, it was What's Your Name, Jesus, Suburbia, and I went back and forth with Holiday. I do love that, but ultimately, I'm gonna have to give it to Boulevard of Broken
Mm,
Dreams because of what I said in the beginning, which I didn't have the intention. I think one thing we do as listeners with classic albums is, because they're overplayed, we forget how great they were,
Boulevard
and
of
then it
Broken
gets
Dreams.
rammed into your head, and you're like, oh, I don't even want to listen to it anymore. But it's still a
Boulevard.
great song. The ending is this weird, crazy, dark thing, and I love that. I love that
The
song, and
Boulevard of Broken Dreams was a sneak attack on me. Obviously, it was a single, and it was
mhm.
always on, and it took everything for me not to change it. But I listened to it, and I'm like, man, this is actually really good. It actually got made me a little emotional because of one line in the song. I think it was in the chorus. He says it over in the chorus and says, "I wish someone up there will find me." And that line right there, for some reason, just fucking hit me. I was like, damn, dude, that's like, it hit all my hangups about religion. You know what I'm trying to say? And that was a sneak attack favorite for me for sure. So I would probably put that behind What's Her Name or right on top of What's Her Name's favorite tracks on this album.
Damn, that's crazy. Because
Yeah,
I would
it
have
hit me.
thought that would have kind of
No, I
cemented
know, and I
on.
thought so too, and I really didn't want to hear it, you know. But I was just listening in that line. I was like, "Fuck, dude,
Yeah, and, and
that's
and there's a lot of great single lines like that, and hearing you say that actually makes me think about that too, because when I think about the idea of Boulevard of Broken Dreams, what does that mean? And there is a lot of kind of weird metaphors. Some of the stuff is super in your face, straight to the point. Some of the stuff has overwhelming metaphors. Billy Joe as a lyricist is kind of weird, because sometimes it's like, what are you talking about?
mm-hmm,
And Boulevard of Broken Dreams has just enough of that to you know, like still have me maybe have some wonder, but
But see, that's the
it makes
thing.
me go to that place, and I love it.
That's the thing with songs, dude. Sometimes you listen to a song and then you get so into like what that guy is talking about, but certain lines can mean something completely different to you
Yeah,
too. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's what he meant on that song, but that line hit me.
You know what's one song actually that grew down on me, so I guess it aged kind of badly for me in
Mm,
a way.
yeah, that's what.
Although I kind of get the point, is "Wake Me Up When September Ends,"
Fucking hate that song, dude.
and it's because
That song pisses me off when it comes on.
that was the overplayed song, right?
Oh,
But
the video, dude. Oh, dude.
I
No.
love the video. I
hate
disagree with you.
the video, dude.
You didn't cry.
No, dude.
No
I
heart.
literally no.
You know
I don't
heart.
care.
Head over to patreon.com/heyrob. That's patreon.com/heyrob, and sign up so you can take part in my weekly Facebook Live Q&A sessions where I answer your questions about anything from Escape the Fate stuff to advice for being an artist or just things you were always curious about. I will also be doing fan follow-up streams to hear your thoughts about the albums we discuss in the podcast episodes. On the Patreon page, you can also get signed drumsticks, follow backs on social media, and even enter to win grand prizes that I give away every single month. So check it all out at patreon.com/heyrob.
I remember just watching it. I'm just like, dude, this song is overplayed. This video is just a fucking like. I don't like the 9/11 thing happened. Fucked up, right? We were middle
We were
freshmen.
high school,
We were
high school,
freshmen. That shit was fucked up, crazy. But what I hated the most was, and I can't be mad about it because that's what art does. Is just all this 9/11 art stuff coming out. I hated it because to me it didn't seem genuine.
Yeah.
It seemed like a complete cash grab. But it could. I mean, but that's what art is, right? I can't be mad at Green Day for putting their art out there. I just hated it.
From my perspective, as an artist, when I write, and I understand that because I look around sometimes around, I'm like, another one of those songs, another one of these.
Exactly.
But
100%.
to me, especially as you grow older as an adult, and I think with American Idiot being a coming of age album, an awakening, right?
Definitely,
that's a proclamation.
That's a good way to call that album. It's a coming of age.
It's a proclamation that I'm not going to be an American, right? That when you know you start to see events in the world, they're not the same to you as when you were a kid. Like a thing that's on TV, that goes next to MTV and the music videos, and next to that's what was on that freaking Jersey Shore or Real World, whatever.
No, that was
right.
Real World. Jersey Shore was way after that.
It was like
I'm like
I don't remember.
No, dude, I don't want to sound like the MTV expert over here.
But like MTV that, you know, the news to us back then was kind of part of the entertainment thing. It's just like, well, this is weird. This is happening.
Yeah.
But as you grow older, and especially now with because I have kids now, and I look at that and I go, what is their life going to be like? Holy crap! And I can imagine being the guy writing these songs back then, thinking to myself, like, how am I going to send my kids into this world? What the fuck? You know? And so, although at that time it started to get played out, everyone's writing a war album, everyone's writing this, everyone's writing. It was what was happening. And so he was just reflecting, you know, and
I battle with that all the time.
That.
It's like when the shit happened here in Vegas, the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
Fucked up, right? But I don't know why it bothered me to see all these people just Vegas strong everywhere. Everybody, I'm sorry, it sucks, dude, but I don't know, dude. I just it rubs me off the wrong way. Like it just pause.
I mean, I
kind of pause on that one.
But I mean, I can understand.
Like everybody, we live in an era. We live in an era that everybody wants to be like a victim. Everybody wants to share their story. And dude, I'm sorry, but everybody goes through shit, so I don't need to hear it.
Yeah, and to me, it's like I look at it kind of the opposite, where it's like, all right, you know what, like it's cool, like you're human, and I'm gonna go on your journey and listen to you. And
is it genuine? Is my only question.
And that's the part that, especially as a kid, especially when we were young, we don't get it as much now because everyone listens to everything because they can listen to anything at any time on their phones.
Whenever, right?
Back then, there was a real debate as to who was selling out and who was real. And that idea that Green Day was selling out.
I feel like Green Day was like the one band who was truly like Nirvana wasn't even. I don't even. Well, we were too young for Nirvana.
Yeah, we're a little
Green Day would be our Nirvana. They would be the band that that's the first time I ever actually heard the word sellout was used towards Green Day.
Wow, really?
And I didn't buy it though. I was like, yo, these guys have always written pop songs. Remember we did the bracket? I tried to submit the poppiest, most from their early tracks. I tried to submit their most poppiest tracks that back then. And you can still hear the Green Day in those songs.
Yeah, they have their style.
So I've always thought Green Day was a pop punk band, straight up.
So
I never really said they were sellouts until American Idiot.
Yeah, which is weird because if they've sold 15 million records doing it that way to switch the format, when this works and that's selling, to switch from something that's sold doesn't necessarily make you a selling.
Can we talk about real quick about how rare it is for a band to have a second career like that? Because Green Day was written off. Yes. Like I said, I thought they were gone. I thought they were gone. And then they came out and boom, they had a second career. I don't know about it anymore, but they had a second career off of fucking one album. Their 7th album in. How crazy is that?
Dude, and it came out 10 years after Dookie.
Fuck.
And, dude, that doesn't happen, man.
Right.
It doesn't happen. And certainly not to that level. That level of like, holy crap, you're back. I mean, I've seen...
If there's one thing I will say is that is the gnarly thing for me about this album. Is the fact that it launched a second career for them.
Dude, that if nothing else, that's pretty amazing. Especially because it went in a sort of mature direction. It did sort of change. Still the same basic kind of their style.
Right.
But it changed that and it became mature, and now they're this grown-up political band and relaunched them. Because they can't make fart jokes their whole life.
I know.
Man.
I mean,
it's just gonna be weird. Like, I don't want to see a 40-year-old just talking about But even though those songs were cool and they were fun, but it would come off probably disingenuous to keep trying. Well, it's true. Same thing.
I mean, who just recently did an album, and I listened to it. I heard one track off of it, and it was just the same old shit in their 40s. Blink-182. Did you hear that? Album where they were in the middle of the album, they did another one of those like
those goof tracks.
The goof tracks. I'm like, dude, you guys are in your 40s.
I do love that record, but I mean,
what?
I do. Well, we'll have to get that. No, we'll do that one.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out.
But so I guess we can probably end this because this has been going on for a while. But
no, it feels like we haven't even scratched the surface.
I know, it's kind of crazy, but maybe we'll do a part 2. But to me, to go back for a second to what the one song that kind of really grew down me was "Wake Me Up When September Ends," because it was very. I don't know what he's talking about in that song. I'll be honest. I don't. The lyrics are a little too not to the point and direct in a certain way. I get that it feels like this sort of the repetition of the cycles and that I don't know
I just assumed it was a song about "Wake Me Up" because 9/11 happened. Obviously September. So I assumed it was like, yo, let's just go to sleep and wake me up when this month is over.
But it's just, to me, it's like the same tragedies. This generation had a tragedy. Now we come back again. Now we have a tragedy, and it continues, and it continues, and it continues.
Super frustrating, and then you can see why conspiracy theories get their bullshit.
Not to go too political because this is we're talking about music, but it does have that in the album.
Yeah, it does.
Obviously, but yeah, sometimes you are numb to it. Like, oh, another shooting, another mass shooting. It's like
South Park
football's
touched on it, dude.
And that song kind of makes me feel that way, where it's just like, damn, dude, we're still doing it. 20 years gone so fast, and here we are, and we haven't changed, we haven't gotten better, we're still in the same spot.
You can argue it's probably even worse.
And so I feel like that's where that gets to, but some of the lyrics I wish would have been somewhat more concise or more clear in a way. And
that's the one track I didn't even deep dive. It's just kind of like let it play.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So let's close it off then. What are your final thoughts? What are your takeaways? I mean, thumbs up, age well,
I'll give it.
everything.
I'll give it a thumbs up for sure. I thought the album definitely aged well. I thought the album definitely, from beginning to end, was concise and it was good. I didn't hate too many tracks, and whenever I did hear a track that I didn't like, the following track was actually really good. So definitely enjoyed it. Changed my mind on it. Um, will I listen again? Probably, but not till like 5 years from now.
Wow. Wow.
I liked it. I'll give it, like, if I had to rate it, which I don't like rating albums because it's ridiculous. So 10 would be like, I wish I wrote it. I wish I was in Green Day. 5 would be 100% indifferent. Doesn't care.
The Michael Jackson Perfect 10 Award.
Number 1 would be like, I want to go and murder the members of Green Day.
Wow.
I would say it's about a 6 or 7 for me.
Holy crap! I don't like you. Which I.
If 10 is you wish you wrote that album versus indifferent,
30.
Okay, I'll give it. I'll give it a 7.
16 million copies.
I'll give it
40.
a 7.
I give it a 45 out of 10. But no, like for me, the going back, and I can't really say going back and listening to it because this is on regular rotation for me.
That.
This comes on at worst once every couple months.
This is why you're the worst at music. I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. But this is why you're the worst at music, because you listen to the same shit over and over.
Because I love it. I love it. I love it. So it's not.
I think that's
once
why.
I find out that I love it, I'm like, cool.
It's
get
so
it.
crazy.
I flip through. I'm not gonna force myself to like some. This hit me and I loved it. So to me, this album is pretty close to like the 9 out of 10. There's certain things. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that it does run a little long. It's a little bit long where it's like maybe we could have cut one, but it takes me on a journey and I love it and I do wish I had wrote it. But for me, being a kid from the suburbs that was just trying to figure out life as an adult, this album really hit home for me and it was fun and it turned me into a Green Day fan. No, I wasn't a fan of Dookie and I liked a couple songs here and there.
That's
Time of Your Life
crazy.
was cool, but this album was the one that made me a fan. And years later, it still gets like, yeah, maybe a few months will go by where I don't listen, but inevitably it will be on. Several times. And because it has energy, I can work out. So it comes on and I love it. I definitely don't change it when it comes on the radio, when the singles do, but it's more than the singles to me. It's a complete album. It's a complete journey. It was ambitious, but it made sense. It flowed. It was, honestly, dude, this is one of the soundtracks to my life and I love it. And yeah.
Once I got past the idea of it being a punk rock record, it was enjoyable, for sure. And at least it wasn't Saint Anger, that's for sure.
It wasn't. Maybe one day we'll review Saint Anger. Well, that's going to do it then. Next time, we'll figure out, maybe we'll do one of your selections, and I'll probably get,
an aneurysm.
Some enemies.
They say this is what I struggle with one of my selections, because like, you listen to your favorite album over and over again. So if someone asks you what's your top 5 favorite albums, it's easy for you to answer because you're still listening to them. For me, it's like, fuck, what are my 5? I haven't listened to it in years. I move on, dude. I move on. I'm always listening to new shit over and over again. I don't like it anymore because the rate that music is coming out today, especially with the accessibility of recording nowadays, it's hard to keep up. And now, I'm like, it's hard not to be jaded. But like I said, I can always find something that I like in anything, really, honestly.
For sure.
So.
No, and I'm starting to learn that as well. But because of that, it also makes the things that I love stand out even more. Because it's like, oh, cool, I like this, I like this, I like this for this, but I don't really have time. I got this much time in the day to really just enjoy music. I want something that I love.
It's like when you go to the restaurant, you know what's the slam dunk. You know what is bomb. But this looks kind of good too.
I go to Roberto's and I'm like,
oh, don't tell me about Roberto's.
I could try all this. I could try this. Get into the taquitos. Fuck it. All right, man. Well, that was good. we'll be back again. Hopefully this goes well. Hopefully people enjoyed it, and
we'll figure out. We'll
maybe
get a
get
better
some
rhythm
submissions.
going. A better rhythm going.
For
and
sure,
I'll stop
maybe
interrupting you.
No, but I like it though because you're coming out of your shell too. Confidence.
Well, that's the thing is I don't want to lose my train of thought. That happens to me all the time. So like when you're talking, something clicks and I have to say it before I forget. So whatever.
I feel you. So
But
we'll get good at that though, and it will be some rhythm. And this was just the first of many because it was fun.
Yeah, cool.
Peace. American Idiot by Green Day.
Yeah. Oh, I came around. No pun intended.
Damn it! I hit
Oh no! Let's reenact that.